how did your gimmick as Jimmy Rave actually come about? So were you actually a raver? And if you were, what were your favorite raves you did?
Yeah. Early, like when I was a teenager and because I started training when I was 14. So the rave scene where I lived was like really big thing, and so uh that's just how I came about it. Um I did go to like raves, but it was just because the scene was so popping at the time that I tried to catch on to it, and then it just stuck from there.
Perfect. So don't hate me for asking this, but my audience would kill me if I didn't ask you about it. So you've become a bit of a favorite on my channel due to that party promo that you did.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
what are your memories of that?
Uh so we that was actually asked of me to do, like, because we were doing the Rinky King thing, and so like they wanted to tag Zima, Ion, and I, and like have us just do like a party gimmick, because like everything there was super gimmicky. You know what I mean? Uh, like Trevor was obviously a cowboy. You know what I mean? And like for the Indian audience, they wanted everything real cut and dry. Like, you're this, you're that. You know what I mean? Like it was very throwback because the audience hadn't seen wrestling over there in such a long time. That was built out of an um like local people too. You know what I mean? Like they had WWE. The story that we were told was that one of the prime ministers, one of their sons, was a big wrestling fan, and he was wrestling with his little brother and broke his neck. And then they took wrestling off TV for a while there. And so Ring King was supposed to be that big thing to come back.
Wow, I've never. Yeah, Nick certainly didn't tell me that, so that's a brand new story for me.
Yeah,
Um,
what the Bollywood boys.
yeah.
So they they spoke Punjabi, and like Sanjay is one of my best friends, and so I was real curious about all that stuff. So I asked a bunch of questions while I was there.
So obviously that promo that you did, it was never really meant to be anything at all, was it? It was just there to set the scene for yourself. But for some reason, everyone latched onto it on my channel. Now they love it.
Awesome.
I'm not allowed
That's
to
awesome.
mention you about it.
That's amazing.
What were the Indian fans like overall out there?
So did Nick tell you that they were paid fans?
Yeah, so he said they were paid, but because they didn't really experience much wrestling, like you said, they were
Yeah.
a whole other level.
Yeah, like we um I I think the first match that we did was the match with me, Trevor, and Zima. Uh and like that was the first match that they saw. And so like we're thinking, oh man, we need to go out there and give them like almost like an X Division type style match. But they hadn't seen wrestling so much that some of that went over their head, you know what I mean? And so like we really had to be super cut and dry with it. And so the more simple things that we did, the better. But like, the like Abyss and Scott Steiner getting in the guardrail and like chasing them and stuff, that was super organic, and like that made it so much more fun for us. Especially it made it fun for me.
It was a hell of a spectacle, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know. It's not really clear from the research I've done online. So I don't believe you weren't the first. You didn't actually train the guys, or you had a bit of a hand in it. What was the deal there?
So so they were trained by Savio Vega and Eugene. and then they asked me and Nunzio to work with them before the shows because they're selling and stuff like that. Uh, wasn't up to par, and so like I like myself, the Bollywood boys, Zima, and Nunzio would train them before shows. There was a so I almost got into a fight with two of them because the first kid that I wrestled, Pagal kid, the bird dude, he he him and I always see you like posting about Baroud, the dude that looks like a kid. Like him and I, those two guys were like super into everything. They wanted to wrestle all the time. As a matter of fact, one time when I got home, Pagal called me and he doesn't speak any English, you know what I'm saying? And like he was just uh like we want to come over there and work, you know what I mean? But I couldn't understand nothing he said. Uh but anyway, those guys would always show up and work hard. The other guys though, uh we had this, they were told to be there early, get in the ring and stuff. And then me and me and Nunzio were there, we're waiting. It's like 30 minutes past the time they're supposed to be there. And so I sent Baroud back there to check on them, and they were all like, "Oh, we're too hurt to go out. We've been wrestling 2 days in a row. Like we don't want to wrestle." And then like all hell broke loose. I pulled them out there. I was telling them like, "Look, man, this is your fucking job. You know, you're on the biggest station in India. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like, and you've only been training for 60 days. So like, you need to come out here." And then like they, like tried to like talk back to me. And then Sanjay and the lady that was the executive director for Endermall. Endermall was the big production company. They came out and yelled at them, and but like yeah, it got real heated, and like Nunzio was like, I work for WWE where I'm on the road 200 days a year. You guys have only wrestled 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fuck are you talking about? And so yeah, they were like being like prima donnas because like India still has that caste system. You know what I'm saying? Like, so so some of them felt like they didn't have to, you know, go and do that. But
Yeah. Nick said that he felt like most of the guys who were there were doing it just to get on TV and look good. But he also said that Baroud, in particular, he was a fan of wrestling and wanted to go further. Would you say that's accurate?
yeah, absolutely. Him and Pagal were both, super. We want to learn more stuff and everything.
Do you know why Pagal Parinder? I felt like he was very splashy in the ring considering how little training he had. Do you know if he had a background in it beforehand?
He did not. I was his first match ever, and like we had it on TV, and like if you watch the match, like I'm running around because he doesn't. Like wrestling, you have to have like some natural movements, but he was very uh just like robotic in his movements, you know what I mean? Like I remember I had to catch him for like a wheelbarrow bulldog or something like that. And he's supposed to duck my clothesline. Uh but like if you shoot somebody off in wrestling and they hit the ropes, they're supposed to keep running. Well, he stopped running and turned around and just did the wheelbarrow. But like you can see he doesn't like put his legs around me, so like I have to like muscle him up. Uh and so, like we were trying to work hard with him though. You know what I mean? Like there was other guys that, we wouldn't let them do all that stuff because they didn't know how to. But like we were really trying with him because he was showing that he wanted to do it.
Yeah, he certainly had a bit of natural athleticism as well to him. I'd say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know how the Indian talents were actually selected in the first place?
So Road Dogg and Sanjay went there and did open tryouts. I think they did 3 of them across the country, and then that's how they got selected.
Awesome. Um, was it hard working with these guys with the language barrier?
Not the language barrier, just their attitudes, really. You know what I mean? Like that was the biggest thing that I felt like.
Hmm. Were you actually signed with TNA at the time? I don't think you were, but could you shed some light on that?
No, I wasn't signed. Uh, I had just um I opened a treatment center in Georgia. Like I was the director. I had just gotten hired, and I'm supposed to be running this thing as like a 24/7 center for substance abuse and mental health. And I'd only been working there for like a month, and Dutch called me, and Dutch Mantel called me, and he was like, "Hey man, you want to come to India?" And so it was like a month worth of tapings. You know what I'm saying? Like, so um, luckily I was able to get out of work. I still got paid for work to go to do that, but like, yeah, I wasn't signed at the time at all. I was doing my own thing.
So, how long in total did you spend out in India? Do you reckon?
We did 2 weeks twice, so it was about a month in total. Like, I do have a story though. Like, after the first taping, we were flying home on December 23rd, right? Well, Ring of Honor wanted me to make a return. Like I hadn't been there for like 4 or 5 years, and they booked me on December 23rd. So I literally flew from India uh, on December 23rd, landed on December 23rd because of the international dateline, and went straight to Ring of Honor's final battle. And I wrestled Tommaso Ciampa, but like literally got off the plane at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and went there. It was crazy.
Jesus, and you weren't even meant to be really wrestling much at all at that point. You were meant to be at the centre back at your hometown. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. In Ring Ka King, they didn't have a cruiserweight belt. Instead, they had those golden wings. What was
Right.
what was the thought process behind that?
You have to ask Dutch Mantel that. I don't know. Like, um, I don't know.
Was it
I
actually meant to be like a title? Or?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a title. You know what I mean? And like, you know, and like they were grooming Pagal to do that. You know what I'm saying? And like his gimmick was a bird gimmick, so it made sense for him. So, but but yeah, like I don't know. I think the idea behind it was something like they wanted something super visual for it. Um, But dude, I've won weirder things. I wrestled for Vince Russo and won a sword once.
I was going to talk about that later, but thank you for bringing that up, Jimmy.
No worries.
A lot of fans wanted to know your thoughts on that, and also what happened to the sword, if you know that.
I don't know that. Uh, I, like I was fortunate enough to do that because it ended up giving me a job whenever I needed one. But yeah, like like Vince had done a couple of other religious shows, you know what I'm saying? But like this one was his big one where he brought in all the names and everything, and it drew really well. And I'm from that area. That's kind of where I grew up, and and so it was cool to do like that. But like, looking back on it, it was like a real health issue. Like they got a sword like pointing down at us as we're wrestling. Like, luckily that thing didn't fall, but
Yeah, you got given a pretty good spot on that show, to be fair, didn't you, as well? So that must have been good around your home area.
yeah. I that was another one where like I didn't get to hang out much because I had to catch a flight to Ring of Honor then too. Like, but like my relationship with Vince Russo was like super weird. Like, he, I random like uh I was feuding with AJ Styles in Ring of Honor, and so like all these independent shows wanted to book that match, and I got booked in this place called NWA Cyber Slam in New Jersey. And when I was flying there, Vince Russo was randomly sitting next to me. And I never, like I hadn't like really had conversations with him before. And so he was managing AJ Styles for that match. And so that was the first time he really saw me wrestle. And then he got fired from TNA that week. But when he came back, I was under contract with the Ring of Honor. But originally they were going to bring me in to be part of VKM, and like I was going to do the X Pac version, in their little DX thing.
So do you think it was partly to do with Vince going? You were booked a bit stronger in ROH, weren't you? To be honest, than TNA. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was researching that video I did about your career, I found that a bit bizarre, actually, how different it was between the two companies and how you were treated.
Yeah. I don't think it was meant to be that way. I just got stuck in a spot. Like a lot of people don't realize that when I first came to TNA, we weren't doing the rock and rave thing. I was just with Lance and Christy. Like the first booking I got was I had done Battle of Los Angeles for PWG, and it kind of came out on the internet that I was going to debut at TNA, and but it was in a tag team battle royal that I was debuting in, and like there was no rhyme or reason why I was tagging with Lance Hoyt, you know what I mean? And then they kept me without a contract, and I was working night to night. And then I got scared because, one day they could just be like, "All right, we're done with him," you know what I'm saying? So like I knew that if we didn't have a gimmick that, we weren't gonna last. And I saw Jeff Jarrett's kids playing Guitar Hero backstage, and so like um Simon Diamond, um he was an agent there, and he was a big like 80s metal guy, and so we kind of came up with the gimmick with him and pitched it. And I was just trying to stick around, like. And then like a lot of people don't realize that like I was on all the house shows, you know what I mean? Like I stayed on the house shows, like that I meant like I would be on house shows and Lance wouldn't be. And so when we did the last match with beer money, they did that off the wagon challenge or whatever, and like they pinned Lance, and like when they called me to tell me I was getting released and asked me to do the last match, they were like, we don't want to mess with Lance anymore, but like you're still open to come back. And so like that's why I would return every once in a while and had a good relationship with them.
I think you had a brief return in 2010 or 11. You came back for one or two matches then, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was certainly sporadic. Just to swing it back into the whole Ring King thing, because what the plan is with this interview is we're going to break it up and put it in a giant long ass video of the whole Ring King saga together. You and Magnus
Awesome.
are going to kind of narrate the whole thing.
Awesome.
Did you find that the Indian fans sort of did they notice who you were outside of the building? Did you have any interactions with the fans?
No, but I traveled with Scott Steiner, and everybody knew who Scott Steiner was. It was insane. Like he told me he'd never been over there. Well, like Scott Steiner's like insane for real, you know what I'm saying? Like and he lived near me. Like we lived in the same kind of town. And Rick was like, school, he was on the board of education there. So like I had a really, and like Scott Steiner was like the first guy we went over in on TNA, and like I did a lot of matches with Scott in TNA, right? So so we when we flew over there, like we flew out of Atlanta, right? And I remember there was like a whole bunch of military guys on our flight, right? And I'm waiting for them to board the plane, and Scott comes up, and every one of those military guys stopped what they were doing and like stared at Scott Steiner. And then they like stared at me because like Scott comes up to me, he's like, "Are they boarding yet?" And I said no. He goes, "All right, well, text me when they start boarding." And I was like, "All right." And they're all looking at me like, "How the fuck do you know this guy?" You know what I mean? Like, and Scott, literally, when they started boarding, they hadn't called our section yet, and Scott just cut in line, gave him the ticket, and left. And then we, when we were staying at the hotel, like they kind of catered lunch and dinner, but like breakfast, we all kind of like ate at the restaurant at the hotel. And he ordered an omelet, and the guy could not figure out what an omelet was. And Scott Steiner went in there and made his own omelet. And I was like, this guy just does whatever the fuck he wants, man. It's crazy. But
Magnus
yeah,
told me how Steiner snuck a load of chicken into India.
yeah, he's crazy, man. Like he does whatever he wants. And but like literally when we landed in India, they had TV cameras to catch us coming out the airport. Scotty took his shirt off, you know what I'm saying? And like and got in his cab, but like there was so many people like following us like throughout the airport. It was insane.
But then once you got set up there, you didn't have that many interactions with the Indian people then.
No, we were kind of like secluded, like we had a hotel, and like nobody, like we weren't around the arena at all.
So you didn't have time to party in India.
No, no. No, I ended up going out with Sanjay, and the Bollywood boys. We all like we would where we were was kind of on the outskirts of town, but like we would take like those little three-wheeled cars, whatever the fuck they're called, and we would take that like like half a mile into town, and just walk around and stuff like that. But like we when we first did that, we're walking to find one of those cars, and I turn around and I look, and there's a huge billboard of Scott Steiner and Abyss, like right there. But like there was like during our time there was tons of advertisements for the shows and stuff like that. It's huge.
I thought that Steiner was meant to be more of a focal point of the show, but after the first few episodes, he kind of wasn't. Magnus had the theory that they thought they were just a bit worried about controlling him if he was the top of the card. Would you agree with that?
I don't. Yeah, he kind of does what he wants. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll tell him like no. You know what I'm saying? Like some of us like even in TNA it was like that though. You know what I mean? Like he would just be like, "No, I'm not doing that shit." But like some of us, we try to be good employees. You know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes in wrestling it's better to like buck the system. Like it seems like because like when Petey Williams was trying to be little Scott Steiner,
Yeah.
they did a whole bunch of vignettes with him and Scott Steiner, where like Scott Steiner's like driving a car and Petey's holding onto the hood of it, and Scott's driving like a fucking madman, and like he could fly off at any time. Then there was one where Scott's shooting him with paintball guns and shit, you know, and all this crazy shit. And then 3 months later he gets fired. You know what I'm saying? Like he could have said no to all that stuff, but he didn't. You know what I mean? Like I always took PD's firing harder than mine. You know what I mean? Like just because I knew what kind of he would do anything for that company. You know what I mean?
If Steiner
So
came along 10 years later, he would definitely be the biggest star in the industry with his shenanigans and the fact that everyone wants to hear stories about him.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
it's
I mean,
crazy.
he's still. I mean, he's crazy to leak. Have you ever heard the story from PD on Cole Cabana's podcast where we were doing a pay-per-view in Lowell, Massachusetts, and we had just done like this big meet and greet that we used to do before pay-per-views, and there was a gym right across the street, but there's a median in between the hotel and the gym, and so you have to kind of like pull out and then go around or whatever. Scott Steiner just fucking jumped it with his rental car. You know what I mean? And like PD's like, no, you can't do that. And then like he just goes in there and does whatever the fuck he wants. It's crazy.
I feel like PT's friendship with Scott took a few years off his life.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Like yeah, PD was my roommate my whole 3 years in TNA, and every night he would come to the room, and I'm like, "Yo, you got a Scott Steiner story for me?" He goes, "Yeah." He took me to Waffle House, and we almost ran off the road like 3 times. Like always had a crazy story.
what was the locker room like in India? Was there a big divide between you guys and the Indian wrestlers?
Yeah, they changed in a whole nother section of the arena.
Wow.
Uh, we, like there was like the Indian boys changed in one section. Some of the bigger, like Scotty and those guys would change, and like we had like an office in the arena where like you know Jeff and Dutch and all those guys would would be writing the show and stuff. And then there was another changing room that most of us like that me and my friends changed in. And what was cool about the arena though was there was like Chris Masters kept calling this guy Precious, but there was a guy that like would stand by our dressing room and get us whatever we wanted. You know what I mean? Like if we wanted something. I used to have a picture of Chris Masters holding this guy. He's like a short Indian guy, and he just kept calling him Precious. And the guy couldn't speak any English. But like he would, if we ran out of waters or whatever, he would run and go grab them and stuff. But yeah, like there was all that. And then like uh when like Harbhajan Singh, the cricket player, he had his own section and stuff. Um, so yeah, we were kind of divided.
That's a real shame. Did you try and take any of the Indian wrestlers under your wings, or was that more just sort of Barood and Pagal you looked after, and that was it really?
Yeah, Barood and Pagal. I really enjoyed the guy. Oh, man, can't remember his name.
What did he look
But
like?
he had like a big fro, and
Oh, the
he did
homeless.
like what's that?
The one I call the homeless guy. Is that it?
Yeah,
Yeah, Dwala.
yeah. I enjoyed him. He was a good dude. Uh, the guys that were the taxi drivers,
Oh, is that what?
the two guys.
Is that what they were meant to be?
Yeah. They were taxi drivers. Those are the guys that I almost got in a fight with. But like they were like shoot wrestlers. They did in the Indian style of wrestling that they do in the sand or whatever. Like they were real strong guys, but like they were so difficult to deal with.
I thought they were. I thought they were supposed to be circus strongmen. I thought that was their gimmick. Taxi drivers.
Maybe. Yeah,
Oh,
they kept telling us they were taxi drivers.
well, that's why we do these interviews, Jimmy, so you can
Yeah.
get some light on these things. Were there any spots planned with the Indian wrestlers that you flat out refused to do because you knew they wouldn't be able to do them?
No, I was down for whatever. There was other guys that would though. Absolutely. Like now there was stuff that like when I would try to explain it to them that they wouldn't understand. I was just like, fuck it, we're not doing that then, you know what I mean? And like I do a move where I STO a guy on the apron, right?
Yeah.
And I went to do it to Pagal and he missed the apron and just fell to the floor and like uh I mean it was a lot to ask of those guys, like for them only training for a little bit, to try to wrestle on the same level that all of us were doing, um
I got the sense from Magnus. He kind of said how one of the matches he wrestled against Baroud, it was most of the match was cut out on the TV product. There didn't seem to be many botches on the actual TV product. Was there a lot of matches that were cut to pieces by the end of it by production?
None of mine were cut up that I could recall. There did he tell you about the situation with the referee?
No.
All right, this is awesome. So there was this one Indian ref. Like we brought our own refs. Like Jason Air, no, Rudy Charles was there.
Yeah.
But there was this one Indian ref, and it was during the reveal of Abyss that that this ref was supposed to get bumped, right? And Abyss bumps him, and then he gets right back up. And then like Scott Steiner bumps him, and he gets right back up. Like everybody else is like laying down selling, but this ref is fucking Superman. You know what I mean? Like, Abyss is like grabbing him and like choke slamming him. He gets right back up. You know what I mean? And we're like, what the fuck? And I can't remember if it was still on the TV. I know they show him getting bumped one time, but I don't know if they cut out all the rest of it.
They definitely cut it. Otherwise, I would have said something about it.
It was insane. And like he comes through the curtain and Jeff Jarrett like grabs him and pulls his ref shirt off. He goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And like just starts hitting him. You know what I mean? Like we were all like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like this, yeah. So I know that was probably cut out, but it was insane.
Did you spend? So obviously you were with Scott Steiner a lot. Do you have any other sort of stories or interviews or anything that was sort of cut from the show? Because he seemed to be in a lot of interviews in the first few episodes, and then he was completely gone. Like they didn't show anything of it.
Yeah. No, I think after the first, like when we went there the first 2 weeks, I think they rewrote some of the last 2 weeks. Because we had like a month in between where we went home and then yeah, I think some of the stuff was rewritten because like Sanjay, like I said, he's one of my best friends, and he was part of the writing, you know, because he knew the culture, you know, and so yeah, he would tell me like we're rewriting this, you know what I mean. So I think that they just kind of chilled out on Scott.
That's a shame. what
Yeah,
did
I know.
what did you think of the Indian cuisine out there yourself?
I fucking hated it. Like I don't do spicy food, you know, and like I was going nuts. I brought a whole bunch of my own food. Well, the first time I went to Japan, I did the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, like they would you know, the catering people, they would make stuff for us like that wasn't spicy or didn't have like ton of curry or anything like that on it. But yeah, I wasn't into it at all.
So you didn't find a single thing you liked, not a single bhaji.
No,
Oh,
I like the bread.
oh, the
Like,
nuts.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, naan bread. Yeah, excellent. All right, we're nearly kind of wrapping this up, Jimmy. But just kind of once it ended, it was kind of revealed that they had quite a big viewership on the Colours TV network, but India as a whole is a much bigger country. So although the viewing figure sounded big to us, the country itself, in comparison, that wasn't that big.
Right.
So do you think that's the reason that the second series never happened?
I'm not sure. Like, you know, the original plan was for us to do that in different markets
Oh, really?
because yeah, we were like I think the next one was supposed to be like Argentina or something like that because it like Ender Mall is like a just a big production company, and so that's what they, you know, they did Big Brother. So they're the production company that did that, and so like they would start it say in India, and if it did well, they'll take it to the UK and then the US, you know, and like that's what originally it was supposed to do. And yeah, you know, like if you would have asked us, like based on what we saw over there, like we would have fucking been there all the time. Cause they like did I don't know if Nick told you, but they would like they took us to the big car factory, the Tata car factory, you know, and we went and like I've got this picture of me and Zima and the Bollywood boys, and they took us to a like a school that's where all the factory workers' kids go to school, and like there's just like tons of kids around us and shit like that, and you know, like if you would have asked us, like the way that we were being treated, like we would have been there forever. But there's a lot of politics that come with being in India. Like, did you ever hear the story uh about all the guys going to India and then the show got canceled?
No.
Like Sanjay, um, Joey Legend,
Oh, yeah.
Joe Legend, and a couple other guys went to India, and they were supposed to do these shows, and they get there and they didn't pay off the right people, and it got canceled. And one of the guys, they had this big press conference, and one of the guys like flipped the fucking table and like he was trying to be in character, you know what I mean, and flipped the table. They took his passport and arrested him. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like this big, you know, shit show. And like, you know, everything I heard is like for things to happen in India, you gotta pay the right people and do it like a certain way. And so I don't know if that's what happened or not, but like, um, but yeah, like if you would have asked any of us, like we're like, shit, like this thing's going well, you know what I mean? Like, but
They
um,
actually, they had actually did a Colours did a show in South Africa. I don't know if you've heard about this, called Dadana Dan, um,
no,
and that was on TV as well. I think that was 2008 or nine, and
okay,
Joey Legend was involved with that, I believe. Um, one day I'll hopefully show the footage of that on my channel, but I can't get any footage of it at the moment. But that'll be interesting to see the comparisons between that and Rinka King, because it looks
oh
quite similar
yeah,
from what I've seen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like the, you know, if I think if like things were like planned out a little bit better, we could have we could have done more because it felt like super rushed. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys had to be trained real quick. You know, so if they're getting trained real quick, like that means like there's like not a lot of advertising leading up to the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like it was all rushed real quick. But like ironically, my ex-wife, we were still married at the time when this all happened. She worked for uh, a company where the owners were Indian, and like they, but they lived in Atlanta, and they had heard all about it, and like, were like shit, like they were like excited that I was a part of it, but like they got Colors TV on their satellite or whatever, and I don't know, it looked like it was going to be a, something big, but you know, and wrestling, I always learn it's nothing till it's something. So like I don't get my hopes up about shit. You know what I mean?
Have you heard about NXT India?
No. It is that did they just start that?
It hasn't started yet, but it's been announced, and apparently Jeff Jarrett's going to have something to do with it.
Yeah. I'm real good friends with Steve Carino, and I know they were about to buy Noah
Okay.
and in Japan to do NXT in Japan. But like they want to do that everywhere that they've, they want to do the one in China, everywhere that they go and do tryouts, their hope is to do that.
We're
But I mean,
world
it's a
domination.
yeah, yeah. But India is a huge market, though. You know what I'm saying? Like it could really, if there was a wrestling company that was focused there, I'm sure it would do well.
Final question then, Jimmy. Out of all the guys you wrestled with in Ring Ka King, some of them have actually, believe it or not, made it to the US since. The Bollywood boys, well, they're Canadian anyway, aren't they? But the Indian big boss man, whatever his real name was, he's actually in WWE. Was there any guys who haven't made it who you think could have?
I think Baroud could have. You know what I mean? Like he had charisma. You know what I'm saying? Like
He did.
he like I think he could have done it. I think that Pagal kid like could have done it. Like if he would have continued. Like I'm pretty sure that Baroud like still does wrestling over there. Like I'm friends with him on Facebook and I see him doing shit. Um those guys could have made it. Like the midget guy, I think he could have made it.
I heard Magnus told me a funny story about him. About him
What did he,
messing with Chris Masters.
oh yeah. He was awesome. He used to do this thing after like you'd shake his hand and he would like kiss his fingers and go like that every time. Like he was like a legit movie guy though. Like
Wow.
he's in movies and shit. I'm friends with him on Facebook too. Like he's always in movies and all this shit. Like, but but I liked him. I thought he was cool. Like, I really thought the dude with the afro, I thought they were trying to bring him over from for TNA, and they were gonna stick him in an OVW. That's what they kept saying. Uh, I think he could have, um, because like if that character could have translated to, you know, United States TV. I'm a big fan of like Memphis TV.
Yeah.
Like like when they debut Kamala and like he's coming out of the swamp and
Yeah.
shit. Like I'm a fan of that stuff. And I think with him, he could have just been this crazy guy that nobody knows anything about. And I think he could have done it. But
Could have had
I
like a
think
backstory.
yeah, I think Baroud's like the one that for a US crowd could have just, been good right there.
Yeah. Pag out.
Which
Pag
guy
out.
did
Sorry, go
which
ahead.
guy did WWE hire?
Um, the Deadly Dander.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I think he's in NXT.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Pagal Perinda actually did try and come to TNA. I think he was meant to be part of the Desi Hit Squad, but that went south for some reason. And Baroud did wrestle one match on TNA. He lost to Josh Matthews, but
Oh, wow.
apart from that, none of the other guys ever made it to the US TV, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah. So overall, a positive experience then.
Yeah, it's just another wrestling experience, but yeah, it was a positive experience for me. The travel's shitty, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's part of our job, But yeah, I had a positive experience there. Um, you know, I like once we figured out that everything needed to be kind of dumbed down for them, like it was really real positive.
It certainly came across that way on TV. It's turned into one of my favorite wrestling shows of all time for some reason. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I meant it showed me about I run a school here. I run the CZW wrestling school, and I help a lot of you know guys out, and it helped me teach. Like I preach a lot about knowing how to wrestle in front of different crowds, and it taught me a lot about that too. Like it was like, okay, when we went out there and did that first match, and we're doing topes and shit like that, and nobody gave a fuck, and I was like, all right, we need to just dumb things down.
they didn't know what they were watching. It was too crazy for them.
Yeah, yeah, they couldn't follow it.
So I'm getting a lot of well wishes for you from my channel.
Oh,
Do you
thank
want
you.
to give any sort of updates? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, like I'm still trying to raise money to get a prosthetic arm. Um, that shit's super expensive. Um, they were talking about doing another surgery. I'm not sure if that's what we're gonna do. Like, um, but you know, it's a pain in the ass because like I have to see it. My surgeon. I have to see orthopedic guy. I have to see a occupational therapist, a physical therapist, a mental health therapist. Like that's been my biggest thing right now is like I haven't left my house. You know what I'm saying? And like I know that's not healthy, but you know, um, like one of my students is Jordan Oliver, and he just did this 2-hour match this weekend, and he asked me to be there, and like I'm still not comfortable about around being around people, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know why that is, but it's just been hard for me to deal with that. Um, but I try to stay positive. Uh, but you know, um, luckily I have an amazing girlfriend, who's super helpful. But like I didn't realize how much shit you can't do with one arm, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of stuff I can't open. And like you have to buy all this extra shit to open it. I can't tie shoes with one hand, you know what I'm saying? Like so it's just been a real pain in the ass, and but having to go through all these doctors is the biggest thing. And like we don't have like a great health system, like you guys do, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Not that ours is working at the moment because you don't. It's only for people with COVID. Yeah.
Right, right.
So how?
That was the other worst thing is like while I was in the hospital, I got COVID in the hospital.
I
You know what I'm
heard.
saying?
How
And
was it?
I mean like I didn't have any symptoms, but they were trying to move me to the COVID wing. And I'm like, I'm not gonna go over there and fucking die. Like you're crazy. And especially since I got it in there. Like they gave me a test when I came in, I was negative, and then they gave me another one, and I was like, hell no, like I'm not gonna be around a whole bunch of people like when I don't feel sick, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It'd be real nice if I could sort of lead this drumming up to help you, because most of my audience is going to be an audience that also know who you are.
Awesome.
So is there like a link or something that I can put down below?
Yeah, I've got a GoFundMe that I can email it to you if you like.
Yeah, and I'll put that in the description, and then everyone who's watching this can donate to Jimmy. Are we far off sort of your overall goal for money?
I'm like halfway there.
So there you go, guys. So we're not far. We're already halfway there. So I'm sure we can get there.
Yeah, I'm halfway there. It's and like I didn't even realize like there's different prosthetic arms. You know what I mean? Like there's one that's just for visual. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the actual one that can do stuff. Like the craziest thing about this, and like like trying to explain to people about phantom pain. Like it feels like I still have like an arm and a hand, you know what I'm saying? But it hurts like a motherfucker because it like like tense up like this. It's so weird, man. Like it's been like the pain has been like super weird.
That's crazy. I can't imagine that. Wow. Obviously, we all wish you the best, Jimmy. Is there anything else you want to plug or anything before we end the interview?
No, I'm good, man. Like I appreciate it. I'm a fan of like your channel. Uh, like I had ran across your channel like maybe 2 weeks before you even reached out to me. Like there was something on there, and I think it had something to do with Brood. Like, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, so yeah, I appreciate what you do, and I hope we get this story out because like a lot of people, I like one of my students is obsessed with Rinka King. Like that's all he asked me about. You know what I mean? I was like, I've like wrestled other places. Did you know that I was one of the cats too?
What? No.
Yeah.
I thought that was the Young Bucks. No, I'm kidding.
No, I was one of the
I didn't know
cats.
that, Jimmy. That's breaking news. No one knew that.
Yep.
Which one were you, Puma or I don't know what the other one was called.
I don't know. I've got a great picture of me and the other cat holding hands. That was one thing that in India I didn't know, like dudes just hold hands together. Like if we're friends, we just hold hands,
Strange. And if you could send me over anything, Jimmy, I'd be happy to lead the charge and chuck a bit more money into that. Go fund. Right. Absolutely cool with me.
I actually might still have a script if you want that.
Oh wow, for sure.
Yeah. Let me dig around. I might still have my script, and it'll show you how we write TV for that.
That'd be incredible. Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. All right. Well, we're in the interview there, but thank you. That's been everything I wanted from this, mate, and all the best.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, Jim.